I was watching a commencement speech. May have been when YouTube first started. And I heard a line that I try to live by. And it's sometimes very difficult to live by. But the line, and I want everybody to soak this up, outline your life in pencil, not pen. Now, you're driving around the country right now. Maybe you're watching me on TV. Just think about that. For all you young guys at college, maybe you're watching before you go to your class. Here's my advice in life. Outline your life in pencil, not pen. Or in other words, leave yourself the ability to erase. Don't trap yourself. Don't be 24 years old and buy that expensive Range Rover. Now you're trapped. You're trapped. Got to make that payment. Got to buy a house. Got to make that payment. Chase your dreams before you chase a new Range Rover. Chase your dreams before you chase the new house. Don't trap yourself. You got a long time to live. Houses and cars will always be there. Jay Leno tells a story years ago. He goes, one of the reasons I made it, didn't have a big family, didn't have a bunch of kids, didn't have possessions. I just went to where the comedies clubs would pay me to do jokes. And I traveled around the country for 15 years. Total freedom. So I hear all these Penn State fans that are very upset they didn't get in. This is very, very interesting. Living in the moment. And first of all, I've told you before, if it was up to me, my Final Four teams would be Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and USC. That's who I think the four best teams are. But under the current guidelines, and if I was a committee member, who I would probably vote for is the four teams that got in. Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Washington, given the parameters of what we're looking at. But I am hearing all these Penn State fans, how can you put a team in that didn't get to the conference championship? Very interesting, Penn State. Outline your life in pencil, not pen. You do realize, Penn State, have you ever seen how the Big Ten aligns its divisions? In the East and in the West. In the West, it's Nebraska, Iowa. You know who's in the East? Ohio State. Penn State. Michigan State. So you do realize now, 12 months from yesterday, Penn State, you're going to be in next year's preseason top four. You return everybody. I think you have a chance to really win the national title next year. Do you know the only team I think could potentially be better? Ohio State. In your division of the Big Ten. And you have to go to Columbus. So in 1 year from now, when you wouldn't go into the tournament like this year and get your arse kicked by Alabama, in 1 year from now, Penn State, you're going to be 12-1, and your only blemish is going to be in Columbus, close loss, potentially in overtime. And you won't get into the Final Four because you believe you have to win your conference championship. You won't even get there. 8-4 Iowa will against 12-0 Ohio State. Ooh, outline your life in pencil, not pen. You are so dogmatic, creating absurd qualifiers that don't need to be there. 1 year from now, Penn State is going to finish second or third and maybe the second or third best team in the country. But Penn State today is, you got to win your conference championship. Really, all of college football really wants to have that as a rule. You do realize, what if there was a rule that you had to win a conference championship, period, to get in? You like that one too? So Texas next year with Tom Herman goes 12-0, wins every game 60-7. But because they don't have a conference championship, they couldn't get in this year if they were 12-0. You're setting up all these ridiculous parameters. You're outlining everything in pen. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. You know what you got to do to get in? Have about 10 blowouts, win all but one of your games, and don't have really, really ugly low losses like Penn State had to Michigan by 39 points. But if you start setting stuff up like, you got to beat this team, you got to beat that team, got to win the conference championship. I'm not saying the conference championships don't matter, but they can't be everything. Harvard, 25,000 people a year get into Harvard. Or 25,000 kids a year apply to Harvard. Could be 50. But about 4,000 to 5,000 get in. Okay? Meaning at Harvard, you can have a 4.5 GPA and not get in. Almost all the kids that do get in have a 4.5, but all the kids that don't get in also have a 4.5. But Harvard has to make decisions, and Harvard doesn't box themselves in. They want women and men. They want ethnic diversity. They want geographic diversity. They don't want a bunch of New York, Boston kids. They want Southern kids and rural kids and rich kids and poor kids and international kids and Pacific Rim kids. They don't box themselves in. There is no absolute to get into Harvard. You could get in as a 3.5 student, but if you'd overcome a lot, you were great in your community, you had a job, your poor parents, they want you on campus. They don't box themselves in. Admissions departments don't box themselves in. If you just create, you got to win your conference championship. In the Big Ten alone, their alignment is so screwed up that Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Michigan State, the 4 best programs, are all on the same side. You're hurting yourself if you're going to make that demand. The other side's a bunch of Iowas and Nebraskas. Don't box yourself in. Nobody's saying the conference championship doesn't matter. But it shouldn't be everything. If Virginia Tech won Saturday, you want them in? Really? You want them in?